Welcome everyone to this new video, chapter 14, Firms in Competitive Markets. This is the book of Principles of Economics of Gregory Mankiw, 7th edition. So, the idea here is basically that we need to differentiate between markets. So, for example, let's take one example of two goods, water and gasoline. So when we have here the gasoline, uh, if there is a price higher in one place, automatically you go to another place in order to um, put gasoline in your vehicle. On the other side, if we think about water and the price is higher, maybe you try to save a little bit in water, but it's so hard to find another supplier. So automatically we can understand that, for example, at this time when we have like more suppliers, they have less market power. So for this reason, the change of the price is not really um, like profitable for this particular firm. It's better to keep the prices the same. On the other side, we have just one supplier. At this time, they have, as we call, market power. So when we talk about the market as competitive, at this time we need to make some assumptions that, for example, if each buyer and seller is small for the size of the market. What does it mean? Basically, it means that even if a buyer or a seller wants to change the price of the market, it's impossible. They don't have any incidence in the size of the market. Then, when there is influence, there is a market power. This is the case of the water. They can change, and people, they have kind of constraint to pay for this good at that price. Then we need to take into consideration chapter 13, and if you didn't see yet, I strongly recommend you to watch it because this establishes the base of this chapter, because we will find that market supply is tightly related with costs of production, because actually from the shape of the cost of each firm, it will have as a consequence the market or the firm supply and then the market supply. So what is a competitive market? Then we need to establish the meaning of competition. Then when we talk about competitive market, we are talking actually as a synonym a perfectly competitive market. And we have two conditions as a base, and then we are going to present the last one, which actually it comes from the second. It comes from these conditions. So there are many buyers and many sellers in the market, and then the goods offered by the various sellers are largely the same. So we don't have any difference among producers' products. And as I said before, the first one implies price takers. They don't have any incidence in the market. So what we are trying to figure out here is like the action of simple individual does not affect the market, then the price is taken as given. You cannot change at all this price. Let's take an example of the milk market. So no single consumer can influence the price. If you go to buy a milk, assuming that it's exactly the same milk, we don't have like different kind of milks. So you cannot, for buying 100, maybe you cannot influence the price of the milk at all. Then, for example, when we are talking about the producers, each dairy farmer has limited control over the price. Let's think about the two possibilities. The first one is that the dairy farmer sells at a lower price. If this person sells at a lower price, remember that he can sell all at the price of the market, so he doesn't have any incentive to put the price lower due to he already sold everything at the price of the market. Then anyone at this time will buy to them, but the benefits gonna be like a, a lot worse. So at this time, the other possibility is that he put price higher. Immediately, you don't go to this dairy farmer to pay for the milk. You go to another one because it's exactly the same product and the price is lower than the other one. Then these previous conditions make people price takers. And the last conditions uh, is about free entrance or exit in the market. We will see how this condition is a powerful force of long-run equilibrium. We're going to verify how this change the long-run equilibrium, and this is the last condition. It means that whenever you want, you can go out the market, and whenever you want, you can go into the market. It's a free market, free entrance. So then we are going to talk about the revenue of the competitive firm. First, the idea is that the firm tries to maximize its profits. This is the main idea why a firm is created. Then we are going to have a look to the particular milk firm which is in a competitive market with a lot of buyers, a lot of consumers, the same milk from one to another one. And then we are going to define the average revenue and we are going to define the marginal revenue. So before going into these definitions, we are going to have a look to the table. We need to understand really well because this one is going to provide all the tools necessary in order to understand better this this firm in competitive markets. So here we have the quantity produced. We label as Q from 1 to 8 gallon. In this case, 8 gallons. So here we have the price what is sold. Here, this is the assumption of competitive market. As you notice, it doesn't matter if you produce 1 gallon or you produce 8 gallons. Every time you will receive by each gallon $6. So it's going to be exactly the same. Then the total revenue labeled as TR is equal to P times Q. 6 times 1, 6 times 2, 6 times 3, so on and so forth until 48. Then we have the average revenue, which is going to be, remember, every time we have an average, we need to divide by the quantity. Then we will have here total revenue 6 over 1, 12 over 2, 18 over 3, so on and so forth. So automatically you visualize and you realize that here we have the price is exactly equal as the average revenue. And then the marginal revenue, MR, is equal to delta, this triangle. It symbolizes the change in the Greek alphabet. This delta is from the Greek alphabet, and in economics we take this one as change. So we have change of total revenue over change of total quantity. The numerator in this time is the change of the total revenue, and the denominator is the change on the quantities, and in this table it's just 1 to 1. So it's going to be at the end of the day just the total revenue. It's going to be 12 minus 6, 18 minus 12, and we put it in the middle here because it represents the change. Now we need to understand the different definitions of average revenue and margin revenue. The average revenue is the question, the total revenue divided by the quantity sold, but basically it says what is the medium of the average cost of each milk produced. So at this time, sorry, it's not a cost, the revenue. So at this time, on average, each gallon provides $6 of revenue, and the marginal revenue is what is the revenue of selling one additional unit. So this is really important what I'm going to say. in competitive firm or in competitive market, the price is exactly the same as average revenue and equal to marginal revenue. So here, what we're going to work here is about the same, but the same firm, but we're going to explain another important factors here. So here we have again the quantity, we have the total revenue that we already did before from the previous table, and here we have the total cost. So here is given by the firm. This is the total cost, and the profit is the first gallon is going to be 3 minus 0. This one is going to be 6 minus 5 because profit, remember, is the total revenue minus total cost. So here we have what information can we grasp for these three columns. First, the fixed cost here is $3 because when you don't produce any gallon of milk, you need to pay $3. So this is going to be your fixed cost. This one you have the negative profits, and this one you have positive. It increases, it goes here to the maximum, to the fourth and fifth unit, and then it decreases. So automatically you can say that the maximization of this firm is going to be this one or this one. But this one it could be kind of better because you produce less quantities. It's going to be 4. So maybe you will say this one. What is the marginal revenue? We already did it. Is the change of this. And remember, it's exactly the same as the price and as the average revenue as well. And the marginal cost, as we saw in the previous chapter, is going to be this one, 5 minus 3 over 1 minus 0. The denominator each time is going to be 1. So we have 5 minus 3 is going to be 2. 8 minus 5 is going to be 3, so on and so forth. So here we have the marginal cost, which is increasing. And then we have here the change in profit. So here we have positive 4, here we have 3, here we have 2, here we have 1. This is going to be 7 minus 6, is going to be 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. So what is the idea about that? First, as we say in the first video, the 10 principles of economics, people think at the margin. So at this time, what is the main idea that you need to understand? That this firm will maximize its profits every time the price, which is going to be exactly the same as the marginal revenue, is going to be exactly the cost. So it's going to be around this one. So it's going to be the fifth unit, right? This one is going to be the quantity that maximizes the profits, where actually the change in profit is going to be 0, is the maximum one. Then here we have the cost curve and the firm supply decision. So first we need to understand that table. In the x-axis we have the quantity produced. This one we have measured in dollars, the cost of revenue or the currency that we are working. Here remember we have the average variable cost, which is U-shaped, and the average total cost, which is the sum of average variable cost plus the fixed cost, the average fixed cost, which average fixed cost is always decreasing. The sum is going to be the average total cost. Remember, the marginal cost cuts in the minimum the average variable cost and the average total cost. And why in the minimum? Why in the minimum? Basically, think about your GPA. So when you have the GPA and the marginal cost is increasing, it's always decreasing, but it's lower than the average total cost, then this is decreasing. Why? The average total cost decreasing. Imagine that your next exam is lower than your average. So your average is going to increase, decrease, or remain the same. It's going to decrease, right? And when your next exam is higher than your average, your GPA, then your grade is going to increase. So for this reason, this is U-shaped, and the marginal cost cut in the minimum part. Then the new fact that we have here is the price. So imagine that we fix a price over here, which is exactly the same as average revenue and marginal revenue, remember. So here, every time the firm maximizes profit by producing the quantity at which marginal cost equals marginal revenue. And remember, the marginal revenue was exactly the same, equal as in the table. Remember that we have in the table this part. We have marginal cost exactly the same as marginal revenue. Then, for this reason, this one is going to be the quantity that the firm maximizes. Think about a firm that produces 5 gallons of milk, and they say, okay, we're going to produce one more, and the cost of this more, the additional one, is going to be $1. And the revenue for this additional one is going to be $1. So then the marginal cost exactly equal to the revenue. Okay, so for this reason, it is going to be the maximum or the efficient quantity that a firm produces when the revenue that is going to receive is exactly the same as the cost, and they will not go ahead because the next one is going to be the case that the marginal revenue is going to be lower than the was smaller than the marginal cost. So here this is going to be the maximum. So think about this first one. When we have this quantity 1, we have this marginal cost this one, and the price is this one, or your marginal revenue is this one. What you're going to visualize here is that your next unit will receive much more than the cost. So this is not efficient because you can produce more and you still will receive income higher than this cost, and it will become on positive profits. Let's think about a Q2. This Q2, it provides this marginal cost, but your income is going to be this one. It doesn't have any sense. Why? Basically, because at this time the cost of producing this unit, this additional unit, it provides this cost, this additional cost. But the revenue at this time is going to be this one. So this difference is going to be the loss. So it doesn't make any sense. So for this reason, you go here until the marginal revenue is exactly the same as marginal cost. So at this time, you are still having positive profits, and we're going to represent that ahead. So here, the market price is horizontal due to the firms are price takers. So it means that they cannot provide a higher price, higher quantities, because they don't have any incidence on the price. So for this reason, it doesn't matter how much you produce, the price that you're going to sell that is going to be exactly the same as the price market, which is horizontal. Then this is the idea that we said before: the margin revenue is greater than the marginal cost, the firm should increase its output. And then in the other part, if the marginal cost, so when we are talking about Q2, is greater than marginal revenue, the firm should decrease its output. And then the last one, at the profit maximizing level of output, marginal revenue and marginal cost are exactly equal. Okay, then for this is the importance of the determining the production decision, is why this is the supply. So automatically we understand that this marginal cost is going to be the supply curve of the firm. Obviously, we need to figure out if it starts from here, it starts from here, or it starts from here. So we're going to study that, but this is going to be the supply curve. Then, when we talk about this part, the idea is like when we have this price, and this is the Q1, so automatically at this time, this is going to be, imagine that this is the marginal revenue, is going to be this one. So at this time, you will produce this quantity, Q1, and if this is the marginal, it's going to be exactly the same of the marginal cost. And this one is another um, idea when you can produce more if that's the case that the marginal revenue is around here, or it means the price of the market. So this one is going to behave as the supply curve of the firm, competitive firm. So here we're going to talk now about the firm's short run decision to shut down. So the first idea that we need to understand here is that the firms, they have two decisions: a shutdown or exit. Definitely. So here, when we have a shutdown, this is a decision that not to produce anything during a specific period of time because of current market conditions. You will you still pay fixed costs. So shutdown, you say, okay, we're going to close right now, but anyway, when you close, you need to pay the fixed cost. So for example, for the pizzeria, you need to pay at least the rent of the place that you produce pizza. And we have the other decision, which is the exit. Basically, the exit is a long run decision to leave the market. And at this time, you don't pay neither fixed cost nor variable cost. So this is the other part that we have here. So we're going to figure out how they work. So here we're going to start about the shutdown, which is more related with the short run. And here, imagine a farmer. The cost of the land is one of fixed costs. Okay, you need to pay the rent for that. And imagine that he cannot recover this cost in the short run. Yeah, because he say, okay, I'm not going to produce, but I'm not going to exit the market, so I still need to pay for the land. So it is what we called a sunk cost, because even at this time, if he decides to leave the market, uh, they this time the farmer doesn't need to pay the variable cost, but at least he needs to pay the fixed cost. So here, when we talk about the shutdown, at this time, when you have a shutdown, the firm loses all its revenue because they don't sell anything, but they don't spend anything on variable costs. So the firm will take this decision of shutdown if and only if it cannot cover at least totally the variable cost. It makes sense. If your total cost of ingredients is about $10, okay, but your revenue is going to be just 8, you are taking losses of 2 of the variable cost. So it's better don't produce anything, and you at least just need to pay the fixed cost. So that's the idea. And mathematically, we need to understand, or we need to start from this relationship. Total revenue is smaller than the variable cost. So this is the basic idea when you say, okay, I need to shut down at this time. So then let's make this trick. So we divide both sides by quantities. The the inequality, it doesn't change at all, because remember, our inequality just changes in the case that you divide by negative quantities. So this one's going to be exactly the same. So then remember, total revenue we define as the price times the quantity and over quantity, and here the variable cost over Q is going to be the average variable cost. So here you automatically understand, and we discover a rule that when the price is smaller than the average variable cost, the firm decides to shut down. So here is the so we have that it must cover at least the average variable cost. Otherwise, it's better to shut down. So if that's not the case, at this time, in the short run, supply curves lie immediately when the marginal cost is higher than the average variable cost. So it means that this black line, which lies after the average variable cost, this is going to be the start of the supply curve in the short run. So here we have that. If the price of the is going to be here, you are still you cannot cover even the average variable cost. So for this reason, you are going to shut down. Otherwise, you will start to produce. So for example, this time, remember that this distance from this to this is the average fixed cost. So this one, for example, you are losing this part of the fixed cost. And when you arrive to this one, you automatically you are covering not only the average variable cost, but also the average total cost as well. So here we're going to talk about a little bit more about the spilled milk and other sunk costs in order to explain a little bit more this expression or this concept. So this is based on the idea that something that you cannot recover is already lost. So for this reason, we can take some adages that they say, "Don't cry over spilled milk," or "Let bygones be bygones." So it doesn't matter what you do; it's already spilled the milk, and let bygones be bygones. Don't pay too much attention. So here is sometimes you need to ignore them to make strategy. Something that is a fact that you need to pay, and this is not the important fact to make the strategy for a firm. And at this time, we automatically realize that the size of fixed costs does not influence the decision at all. It depends more on variable costs. So here we have the idea. So this is going to be the supply curve, okay, in the short run when it overpasses this one, the average variable cost, and this one is going to be the other part of the supply curve. So this one, they don't produce anything if the price is lower than the average variable cost. So then this is the idea on the short run when you need to still need to pay for that cost, and this doesn't influence the decision. So then we're going to talk about the decision about the long run decision to exit or enter a market. So remember, shut down, the firm still need to pay the fixed cost, and the exit, it implies that the firm goes out from the market. And we are talking about the long run. Remember, and basically, the idea is pretty much the same as the short run. Remember the difference between short run and long run. Short run, we have variable cost and we have fixed cost. In the long run, all the costs be become at this time they become variable. The size of the plant, equipment, you can change in the long run, not in the short run. So that's the idea, but under this premise, we're going to build the same idea. So here, what we have is that we will save not only the variable cost but also the fixed cost. Because when you exit the market, you don't need to pay the rent. You don't need to pay the rent for land, for the shop, for the place that you're using for production. So at this time, you will not have any costs at all. So here is when the case we start from the idea that the total revenue does not cover the total cost. So here we have total revenue is smaller than total cost. It's like remember the other one was smaller than variable cost. Then we operate the same. We divide by Q. Then remember that total revenue is going to be P times Q. Then, because we have a multiplication here, we can cancel out the Q, and the TC over Q is the definition of the average total cost. So here we have two options. When you have the price smaller than the average total cost, it means the firm exit because they cannot cover the average total cost. And the other one, the price higher than the average total cost, it means that the firm they will enter. Okay, remember this is another fact. In the short run, the firms remain the same, but in the long run, the firms start to enter and to go out. Okay, then at this time in the long run, the supply curve is the portion above the ATC, above the average total cost of marginal cost. On the short run, it was the portion above the average variable cost. And remember, in the long run, there is no more the fixed cost. Okay, so for this reason, the average total cost is exactly the same as the average variable cost. Due to the average fixed cost, they don't exist anymore. So here we start from the idea of maximization of the firm, which is profit is equal to total revenue minus total cost. We're going to do practically the same as the inequalities that we showed before. So we have all the things divided by Q times Q, it still remain the same. So we're not changing anything, this is algebraically. So we have total revenue. Remember, total revenue is equal to price times Q over Q, this time this one, and total cost over Q. Then we have that the profit is exactly equal price minus average total cost times Q. This is a powerful equation to understand the competitive firm. Why? Immediately you understand that every time the price is higher than the average total cost, the profits are positives, or this firm has benefits. When the price is lower than the average total cost, it means that this firm will have a loss. And when the price is equal to the average total cost, it means that the firm has zero profits. Then, here all these curves we already understand the marginal cost, the average total cost. So here we can represent the profits. Price minus ATC minus average total cost, which is going to be this one. This is going to be kind of the high of this rectangle, and this one, the base of the rectangle, is going to be the quantity sold. So this one is automatically the profit of this firm. Remember, this is the price, which is exactly the same as the average revenue and exactly the same as the marginal revenue, because we are in competitive scenario. And here at this price we have this difference. To the firm it costs this one, but they sell to this one, and this difference is the revenue times the quantity that the firm sells. Okay, then we have another scenario, but with a firm with losses. What is the difference? Here this firm sells at this price. Okay, then the quantity is going to be this one, marginal cost, but hypothetically, because at this time it's better to exit, okay, because you cannot cover the average total cost. This was going to be the price, but your average total, actually this good that you sell, the price is this one, it's going to be revenue, but the cost is higher, so then you will have a loss. So this one is going to be the loss when you sell under the average total cost. And from here we can automatically infer the supply curve in a competitive market. So this one, the supply curve for a market, it comes from the marginal cost. And remember, in the short run there is no mobility of firms, there is no entrance or exit. But on the long run there is a movement of firms entering and going outside. Okay, then we can talk about the short run, how we can start to have the market supply when we have a fixed number of firms, which is the assumption in the short run. Then we can consider a market with 1,000 firms, and then this is the idea. Remember that the marginal cost is equal to price, and here we have the individual firm supply. Here we have the y-axis, the price. Remember, and really important, when we are talking about cost, we have here the cost in money, and here we have the quantity. When we are talking about the market, we have here the price in the y-axis, and here we have the quantities. So this one, when the price is $1, this individual firm supplies 100 of this good, and when the price is $2, this firm produces 200. So here, what about the market supply? Still, we have the same prices, but this one we need to multiply by 1,000 firm. So this one is going to be 3 zeros plus 2 zeros, going to be 5 zeros. So it's going to be 1 plus 5 zeros, and this one is going to be the price, and then this one is going to be the price when we have this one, because all the costs are exactly the same, all the shape of them, so the marginal cost of each firm is exactly the same. So we just sum. It's important to sum just in quantity but not in price. So here we have the market supply. So the long run, we base our analysis when there is a free entrance and free exit. So it's important to take into account that everyone has access to the same technology. So for this reason, all the margin costs are exactly the same. All firms have the same curves. Decisions about entry and exit will be according to incentives. When the profits are positive, the firms go into the market. When the profits are negative, naturally the firms will go out from the market. So at this time, when there is at this time, we will lie every time in zero profits. Then the process finishing when price is exactly equal to average total cost. So free entry forces everyone to offer at average total cost, and what we called previously the efficient scale. So here is what we have. This is positive P higher ATC, losses P lower ATC equal to 0, P equal to average total cost. So here we are talking about the short run. So at this time, new firms don't have incentives to enter into the market. There is just one price with zero profit. So we start under the condition, which is a firms with zero profit condition. So no one is interested in entering in the market. Then we start from the point here, the efficient scale, when there's the minimum average total cost, when it's cut by the marginal cost. And then at this time, the market supply is going to be completely elastic. It means that it doesn't matter the change to the price, you're going to sell the same quantity. So this one, for this reason, the price is going to be exactly the same. As we said before, we don't have any incentive to sell higher or to sell lower. Then it's really important. It's some question that I really had before because I didn't understand well. You know that firms stay in the market and they have zero profit. So it makes any sense. You are not making any money and you still remain in the market. But remember, we're talking here about zero profit economics profit, not accountant profit. So this all zero profit includes all the opportunity cost. Remember, as we said before, the implicit cost. They are compensated. Then the accounting is positive. Just the comparative, the opportunity costs, they are going to be at this time included in the economic profit. So here we are talking we are starting from the short run and we are going to the long run. So remember, we start in equilibrium. Here we have here the initial condition, and this is the market. What is the market here? So we have here the long run supply, remember, which is exactly perfectly elastic, completely horizontal, and here we have the demand. So we are in this beginning, which is the long run equilibrium. So here is the demand, and here is the short run supply. It's going to be this one. Then we start here from the firm which is earning zero profit. Then imagine that there is a miracle. So the journal says drink milk because there is a really important health benefit of drinking milk. So for this reason, we have a movement, uh, we have a shift outward of the demand to the right. So here we have the demand change. So at this time, automatically the price increases. And then the market is not going to sell P1 Q1 quantities, but it will sell Q2. So this change is given by this new. So for this reason we have here. Then automatically this one, the price is not going to be anymore P1, but it's going to be P2. And this one, remember, price equal to marginal cost, and due to this is higher, the price is higher than the ATC, this is a positive benefit. So this rectangle, this is the short run profit. Then when there is you see that there is a positive benefit, more firms, they are interested on entering in the market. So for this reason we have a shock on supply. So this shock on supply, it becomes that the supply shift to the right, it increases, so until the long run supply again. So we go from B to Z, and it immediately uh, have that we have lower prices and lower profits. So here the idea is that this is the movement, and why we have to consider that in the long run this is the zero profit. And we already saw the incentive of entering the market. So here there is still two reasons why the long run supply curve might slope upward. So remember, we already saw with it was perfectly elastic. It means that it doesn't matter, the price is higher. There is no changes at all in prices. It's going to be exactly the same, the production. And why it could be slope upward? It could be the first one because some resources used in production may be available only in limited quantities. And why does it change our slope of our supply? Basically, take into account an example of farmers. So for example, when you can buy a land and start a farm, then imagine that there is more people interested in running a farm. So this time, obviously the quantity of land is limited. For this reason, when more farmers enter into the market, makes an increase of prices of land and then an increase in prices of the product. So for this reason, at this time, your long run supply is going to be a slope upward. And the other one is that firms have different costs. So for example, for any given price, those with lower costs are more likely to enter than those with higher because they are more competitive, so they can go into the market. So when if new firm has to enter, then definitely it should be profitable for them. Otherwise, they don't go into the market. So for this reason, the price should be higher. So for this reason, at this time, we will have that the slope of the supply curve is going to be upward, and then this time, just with the time when the price is high enough, there's going to be enough incentives for firms to enter into the market. And for this reason of the changes from some firms, that they can offer to lower prices, but actually they sell to higher prices, even in the long run they will face benefits due to the shapes of the cost. So but at the end, at the long run, every time is going to be like kind of more elastic. They can adjust more to the prices. Then, as a conclusion, we already took something about our first video, the 10 principles of economics, how it's really important that people really think at the margin. And then what we understand after here is like when we are talking a competitive market, the price is pretty close at average total cost. They're almost the same. So every time you buy something which is really competitive, you will be really sure that it's going to be exactly the same. And then definitely even consumers and producers, they are price takers. They cannot change this one. So this one is some changes that we will see ahead. Okay, I hope it's worth. As I said, every single video, this is my point of view of the chapter, is how I understand, how I can explain this chapter, but I'm really open to more information. If you think something I explain in a bad way, something that could be explained in a better way, I really appreciate your comments and suggestion, and I really appreciate your subscription as well if you really like my channel. And that's all. Have a great day. Bye bye.